Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Question now is the vote health stand part of the schedule. Is there any competitors? Call the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Mr Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in the vote health estimates this evening. Mr Chairman, we've heard from the Minister a lot of figures being bandied about, and now is the time for this Parliament and the public to actually hear the true story about what the budget of last year and this year mean for frontline health services in our country. And the truth is that it means just one thing, and that is cuts to frontline health services. The Minister admitted today, having received the question, that he wasn't comfortable with the numerous announcements of health cuts in the last 20 months, but there have been numerous frontline health service cuts. That's in direct contradiction to what the Minister, when he was in opposition, and his colleagues said up and down the country. They went to meeting after meeting after meeting and said, we'll put more money into health, we'll move services from the back room to the front line. There will be no cuts to frontline health services. Tony Ryle is a tui billboard, Mr Chairman, a tui billboard, because whenever the Minister says then there are no cuts to frontline health services, just changes the whole country, including his caucus colleagues, say, yeah, right. Because we know that because of that Minister's decisions and his budget cuts, that frontline health services are being cut all around the country. The truth is that the component of the vote health budget which gets to district health boards is actually where the rubber meets the road. That's where the crunch decisions are being made. If you look at last year's health budget, look at health inflation, population growth and the forthcoming increase in GST, we are left with a $300 million hole in the health budget. That's how much the health budget is short of in order to stay still. That's what the Minister has given the country of New Zealand. Frontline DHB services are going to get a 3.5% increase on average. So if you look at those factors, population growth, health inflation, look at other factors that we know are coming down the track, wage increases, GST increase coming up not very far away. What does all that mean? 6% inflation, 3.5% increase for the DHBs. There will be no alternative for the district health boards but to cut further health services. More health cuts coming as a result of the decisions that Tony Ryle and his cabinet colleagues made in the budget. Public health is going to be cut according to the budget documents themselves. This budget, delivered by Tony Ryle for health, public health will be cut by $68 million over 4 years. Mental health will be cut by $12 million over 4 years. And the primary healthcare strategy money will be cut by $58 million over 4 years. When the Minister resorts to Sandra Gowdy as the cheerleader, it's time to call for reinforcements. Time to call for reinforcements. He's got Dr. Blue giving his urgent messages to Michael Woodhouse. Make sure you talk about this, Mr. Woodhouse. Mr. Ryle says via Dr. Blue. That's his messenger. And then he gets Sandra Gowdy to be his cheerleader. Desperate times. Desperate times. It was Jonathan Coleman, but he's given up asking him because he's made such an absolute mess of things. Mr. Speaker, we heard in the House today the response under the Official Information Act to my request about mental health funding. And we know that in Capital and Coast District Health Board, this year they have cut mental health funding by $5 million. Well, what the Minister says to that, when he's not brushing it aside as being changes, not cuts, is he then describes it as low-value spending. So the older people in the electorate that Bill English apparently lives in, Southland, No, not Wellington Central. He apparently lives in Dipton. So Southland and Invercargill, where the minister's colleague Eric Roy is currently the member for, have cut home support for thousands of older people. According to the minister, low-value spending. They haven't just cut the hours that individuals are getting. They have exited a whole service. And, Mr Chairman,
I call the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Mr Chairman, in Otago and Southland, where older people used to get laundry, house cleaning and meal preparation done, the District Health Board, in the area where Michael Woodhouse, who's going to take a call later in this debate, I imagine, unless he's been told by the minister not to, in that member's own hometown, the District Health Board has said to anyone who had their laundry done, got their house cleaned or meals prepared, we don't do that anymore. They haven't just cut their hours, they have exited the entire service. What can be more frontline than cooking someone's meal and doing their laundry? That is the cut that has occurred in Otago and Southland, not just cuts to hours, but a complete exiting of the service. No amount of the minister saying these are changes, not cuts, will change the fact that for many people, their lives have been dramatically altered, and many older people are now living lonely and in fear, and often without the little tiny bit of support that enabled them to live in their own home with a quality of life and dignity. Michael Woodhouse and David Carter can laugh, but actually it's not funny when people in their 80s have no support being funded by the health system. Mr Chairman, I'll give you another example. I'll give the Committee of the House another example of what the cuts in health services have meant, and I was very disappointed with the Minister last Thursday and again today that he isn't on top enough of his portfolio to be following pleas for help that come via family members, sometimes reported in the paper, sometimes directly to the Minister himself. It should be a basic standard exercise for the Minister to go through before he comes to the House to check the newspapers and check his correspondence, check his phone records, see what family members have contacted his office for help, and he has given a commitment to help those families, and no help has eventuated. One that I want to repeat a plea for help with, and my understanding is that as of today, 5 days since I raised it in the House, the Minister has done not a single thing to help, and that is the tragic incident of a 69-year-old man who has Parkinson's and mild dementia, who has been put into Rimataka prison because he had nowhere else to go. The lawyer for the man contacted me today and said the Minister assured the House last Thursday that something would be done, but as of today, when the lawyer contacted me, nothing had been done. I hope that the Minister has done something. I hope that man is out of Rimataka prison and is in a secure and supported environment in the community. Because if he isn't in a secure, supported environment and faces a similar charge again under the justice system, he unfortunately will be liable to the 3 strikes legislation, which means he would be indefinitely detained in a prison for a very, very long time. The Minister's burbling on, but not once during the entire course of the question time did he say that anything had been done for that man. Denied knowledge of that situation in the same way as today he denied knowledge of another situation where a person who deserves support to live safely in their own home and in their community is being denied it. Mr Chairman, that is not a result of any failing of a doctor or a nurse or any other professional. It is not a failing of a district health board. It is the direct result of the cuts in the health budget that we are debating in the estimates tonight. Cuts that the Minister calls changes, cuts that we know are direct cuts to frontline health services, something that during the election campaign in 2008 the minister said would not happen. So how does that make the National Party feel?